Hey everyone, ready to really get into this whole AI and skills situation that's happening over in Flanders.
Yeah, it's definitely a fascinating time to be looking at this for sure.
We've got some pretty interesting research lined up, especially if you're curious about how companies are trying to figure out this whole skills challenge thing.
Yeah. One of the things that really kind of jumped out at me from the research we have is just how much pressure these companies are under.
Right.
This research from Jan Embrechts at the University of Antwerp.
Yeah.
Really fascinating stuff.
Yeah, it's like everyone's trying to hit a moving target, but in the dark.
Yeah.
This whole VUCA world thing.
Yeah.
It's no joke. Volatile, uncertain, complex, ambiguous. I need a nap just thinking about all of that.
And Flanders is right there in the thick of it.
Yeah.
Embrechts cites a study by Agoria that found a massive skills gap. We're talking almost 29% of businesses are struggling to find people with the right skills.
Wow.
That's huge, especially for a region that is as connected and innovative as Flanders.
It really kind of underscores why this whole thing isn't just about robots taking jobs,
Right.
which I get why people are a little nervous about that. This is about companies needing totally different skill sets
Exactly.
than they did even a couple of years ago.
Yeah, and it's not even just about tech skills, right? It's that mixture of digital know-how with those uniquely human skills like problem solving, communication, adaptability.
Yeah.
And that's what Embrechts found, is that companies really want that. They're really craving that right now.
So how are they tackling all of this? I mean, are they just sending all of their employees to coding boot camps?
Well, not quite. But Embrechts research found that a lot of companies are still kind of using pretty traditional ways to analyze the skills that they have and the skills that they need.
Okay.
So think relying on what their managers observe, maybe get some opinions from industry experts, and then maybe they'll throw in a standardized test here and there.
That kind of sounds like trying to navigate a traffic jam, but using a map from 1998.
Yeah.
I can only imagine what the HR departments are going through trying to keep up with all of this.
Oh, absolutely. And that's another thing that Embrechts found, is that companies are practically drowning in data.
Yeah.
Performance reviews, you've got feedback forms, exit interviews. I mean, it's a gold mine. But somebody has to sift through it all, right?
Right,
And
yeah.
especially when you're trying to stay agile in a really competitive job market,
Yeah, that's got to be tough.
that's where things get really, really difficult.
Especially in Flanders, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's not like companies over there can just sit back and just relax.
No, not at all. No, no, no. Think about all the industries that are really booming in Flanders right now. You've got tech, biotech, logistics. These are fields where things change super, super fast.
Yeah,
And if a company isn't constantly adapting, then they're going to fall behind.
right.
And that all just circles right back to having the right people with the right skills at the right time.
Yeah. So, I mean, clearly something has to give here, right?
It does.
Companies need to analyze skills faster, smarter, more 21st century, right?
Exactly.
And this is where AI comes in.
Yeah, yeah.
This whole natural language processing thing that I keep hearing so much about.
That's right, exactly. Yeah. Natural language processing, or everyone calls it NLP.
Right.
It's kind of like having a superpowered intern who can read and understand just piles and piles of text data.
Okay.
We're talking about job descriptions, CVs, performance reviews, all of that.
Okay. I'm picturing a very, very serious intern with a giant cup of coffee.
Yeah.
But I get what you're saying. So how does it actually work? How does NLP do this?
So imagine, instead of an HR manager sitting there, painfully going through hundreds of CVs looking for the magic keywords,
Right.
NLP can do that same thing, instantly.
Oh, wow.
But it can do it with, this level of nuance. It's actually pretty amazing.
Yeah. So it's not just spotting project management on someone's resume.
Right.
It can actually understand the context.
Yeah, yeah. And that's where things get really interesting. Let's say a company is looking for someone with really strong communication skills.
Okay.
NLP can go through how somebody describes their experience, not just the skills they list.
Oh, interesting. Okay, so a marketing person who writes really compelling ad copy or something
Yeah.
might get flagged for those communication skills,
Exactly.
even if they didn't specifically say it.
Yep. And that's something that traditional skills analysis would just totally miss.
Yeah.
But what's really cool about NLP is how it could completely change the way companies look at skills.
What do you mean?
Well, Embrechts talks about how a lot of these companies are kind of basing their skill strategies on old information. like old job classifications or those industry reports that may not reflect what's actually going on.
Right.
Especially in a place like Flanders, that could really hurt them.
Totally, because things are moving so fast.
Exactly. But instead of using that outdated data, NLP could analyze, thousands of job postings or articles, even social media, basically all that public information out there to identify the skills that are really in demand.
Wow, so it's like next level market research.
Exactly.
They can see what skills are hot right now,
Yeah.
what to invest in,
Yeah.
and maybe even get ahead of some of these like emerging trends.
Precisely. And that actually brings us to one of the big anxieties around AI, which is, can AI really understand what human skills are all about?
Yeah, because, I mean, it's one thing to like be able to spot keywords, but can an algorithm really get those like softer skills?
Right.
Those things that make people people.
Yeah, that's the big question, isn't it? And it's something that Embrex really gets into.
Yeah.
And what he found is that it kind of depends on the skill.
Yeah.
So like those hard skills, the coding languages, software, all that, AI is already really good at finding those.
Right. So if you're a company and you need like a JavaScript developer,
Exactly.
AI can scan through those resumes and be like, boom, here are your top candidates.
Yeah, exactly. That's right. But then you get to those softer skills, the adaptability, leadership, communication style, all that. That's where it gets a little trickier.
Right. Because how do you teach an algorithm to like recognize all that? I mean, I've definitely fluffed up a team player bullet point on my resume before, right?
Right. And that's the thing. NLP isn't just reading those keywords. It's looking at the context.
Okay.
So if someone in their cover letter is talking about how they, managed a really complex team project,
Right.
NLP can pick up on that.
Even if they don't come right out and say, I'm a team player?
Exactly. Yeah. So it's almost like AI is learning to read between the lines like a human recruiter would.
That's kind of cool and a little creepy.
Right.
Okay, so it sounds like it could be really good.
Yeah.
Companies find the people they need faster.
Yeah.
And HR gets to like actually talk to people.
Exactly.
It's a win-win, right? But I'm guessing there are some issues that come up.
Yeah, you're right. There are still some big questions about how this would actually work, especially in Flanders where, workers' rights and all those ethical questions are so important.
What kind of concerns are people talking about?
Well, one of the biggest ones is transparency. People want to know how these algorithms are making these decisions. It feels like a black box, especially with something as important as applying for a job.
Oh, totally. If you get rejected, you want to know why.
Right, exactly. And that also kind of connects to this other concern about fairness.
Okay.
How do we make sure that the algorithms aren't like repeating the same biases that we already have?
Right. So if most of the data that an AI learns is based on like, I don't know, male CEOs,
You're right.
is it then going to, like, without realizing it, favor men for leadership roles?
Yeah, exactly. That's the kind of thing that everyone is trying to figure out right now.
Wow.
And it's not just about fixing the algorithms themselves. It's about who is making them and who's using them.
So really having those diverse teams,
Exactly.
it sounds like, I mean, this is really early days for something that could totally change, like how we think about skills, careers, like the future of work.
Absolutely, yeah. And Flanders, they're so innovative and they care so much about doing things the right way. They could really be leading the way here.
It's pretty exciting, a little scary, but definitely something we should all be paying attention to. So if someone's listening to us talk about all of this and wondering, like, what does this mean for me? What's the key thing to remember?
I think the biggest takeaway is that your skills are more important than ever. But how we figure out what those skills are, how we develop them, even just like how we explain them to people, that's all changing really fast.
Yeah.
Whether you're still in school, you're freelancing, you're a CEO, you've got to understand how this all works. It's not really optional anymore.
And on that note, we're going to leave you with this. What if there was an AI that could look at your skills, your experience, even like your personality, and suggest career paths you hadn't even thought about? Would you trust it? Something to think about as we all head into this exciting AI-powered future. Thanks for coming on this deep dive with us.